Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chentex Multimedia live streaming and streaming to you your device directly from the very wet Brisbane today. Well, right now, once again, I'd like to welcome you all to this stream. And as we know, Chentex Multimedia is providing the stream for Australian Indian Radio and bringing to you all the updates. And today's main feature would be the real estate talk with Usha Chandra of Globenet Realty. That and much, much more coming up in the news today. Well, first up, let's take a look at the news in brief and see what's happening in and around Australia. And of course, we will look at some of the key news from overseas as well. So as we know that the Aussie dollar has been set to gain a lot more. And as we know that the head of Treasury and of course of the Commonwealth Bank have announced the rise, and of course we know that it is always a welcome news, but many times there are things that come with this rise. As we know, the interest rates has been put on hold, but let's take a look at what's happening with the Aussie dollar, which gains more. So Westpac head of strategy, Richard Frenluch, believes that the Aussie dollar will go higher and company profit retains as the economic recovery gets underway. Nearly 9 in 10 ASX 200 companies posted profits for reporting season, but there were also clear losers from the pandemic. As expected, the Reserve Bank has left interest rate on hold. Australian dollar didn't bat an eyelid. The Reserve Bank of Australia keeps interest rate on hold at 0.1% and stands ready to exceed the 200 billion beyond that. So Jones seen jumping on a dead horse. A video has been circulating showing jockey Rob James jumping on an unnamed dead horse. Drone footage shows stolen pigs in Canberra backyard. The stolen pigs run around Canberra backyard after being stolen. Minister under cloud after rape allegations to identify himself. New South Wales Police will not be proceeding with an investigation into the allegations of the historical sex offence by a saving cabinet minister, announcing today that there is insufficient admissible evidence to proceed and that matter is now closed. Sources within the government say this man is likely to make a statement and make questions. The former lawyer for the alleged rape victim speaks. The former lawyer of the deceased woman, who is at the center of the latest scandal, explains what the current legal position is and why the case has been dropped and will not proceed with the charges being laid. Police are concerned with the growing number of vigilantes in Townsville. Tensions remain high in the North Queensland city of Townsville after the death of last month of a young woman involving a car incident where citizens taking law into their home and chasing a stolen car. Australian music icon Michael Gudinski dies at 68. Stars including Kylie Minogue, Bruce Springsteen, Jimmy Barnes and Archie Roach have paid tribute to the pioneering Australian music industry figure Michael Gudinski, who has died at the age of 68. Mushroom Records founder and Australian music industry icon Michael Gudinski has died, and stars like Kylie Minogue and others have all paid tribute to the star. And Mark McGowan says border arrangements could stay in place to stop drug trafficking. The Western Australia Premier says the state's hard border with the rest of the country during COVID has meant a drop in drug use. And the state, Mark Evans, says he's spoken to the police commissioner about the border arrangements which should remain in place to keep drugs like methamphetamine out. Boeing's new uncrewed plane takes the first flight in Australian desert, the first plane to be designed and manufactured in Australia over 50 years. Amelia Morris spoke about her experience with Victoria's mental health system, and a report into Victoria's Health Royal Commission has found the state system must be rebuilt. 13 people have died in a crash in Southern California. At least 13 people have died in the collision involving a SUV and a semi-trailer in Southern California. The Queen's former private secretary remixes on his time at Buckingham Palace. Sir William Hasseltine is a former private secretary to Queen Elizabeth II and has such witnessed several major historical events. He is now 90 years old and disagrees with the way the royal family portrayed in the drama The Crown. The Great Wall of Japan, when a massive tsunami engulfed the northern eastern coastline of Japan a decade ago, it wiped out everything. Now in its path, a 14-meter-high, 400-kilometer protective seawall is dividing the communities, some fear placing them in greater danger. Indonesian volcano Mount Sinabang erupts with enormous ash cloud. Mount Sinabang, an active volcano on the Indonesian island of Sumatra, has erupted, spewing volcanic material and hot ash into the air. The kidnapped Nigerian schoolgirls were released unharmed. Amongst 300 girls who had been kidnapped from the school in Nigeria have been released, according to local government. UK group becomes the first right-wing group to be declared a terrorist organization in Australia. Sonekring Division, a UK-based neo-Nazi group, will be effectively banned in Australia once a listing as a terror group is confirmed. So these are some of the highlights and the news that's making news. And when you look at the terror groups, and I think Australia taking on the strong stand is good news, because we can't just be complacent. Well, right now, as we know, lot of buzz happening around Brisbane. Yesterday, right next door, was the opening of Populous new building, and we have seen that come along because it's right next to our studio, the Populous. And of course, someone would say that the bid is just been come in, and the games will be in 2032. But all these things have started happening right now, right here in Brisbane. So the Premier and Anastasia Palaszczuk, and of course Minister Grace, and they were all there yesterday at the opening of Populous building, and who, of course, we know builds big stadiums. But today, of course, at Sofitel this morning, where we joined up with the Deputy Prime Minister, Deputy Premier, making announcements on more infrastructure and what this sector holds for us. Let's hear from him. Yes, we are ready. Crossover.
Well, I've just addressed the UDIA conference, which is focused on ensuring that we have sufficient housing supply here in the southeast to address the population growth that we are currently seeing. And I've outlined a range of initiatives that the Palaszczuk government will put in place to support industry to deliver that land and housing stock that we require. The most important is a new growth area delivery team. That will be the state planner working with Economic Development Queensland to deliver new growth areas to make up for the supply that has been taken in the rush to particularly home and land packages caused by the successful home builder program. I've tasked them with choosing one pilot growth area between now and the end of the month to work on integrated planning so that we can get new stock into the market as fast as we possibly can. It's incredibly important that we ensure that there is affordable housing in the southeast market, and some of the surge in population movements, this 88% net migration to Queensland, couldn't have been predicted. And now that we see it occurring, it's incumbent on us to act quickly to ensure that land is available for the development industry to build houses for those people to live in.
Do you have any areas in mind? Where are other parts?
Look, that will be for them to now work with industry to identify. There are particular challenges on the Gold Coast and in the Redlands area, but other parts of Brisbane, there are issues associated with fragmentation of development lots. And one thing industry has said to us is that they would like to see government to play a more active role in bringing developers together and assisting them to deliver the infrastructure needed for them to develop their lots together. And so that's the kind of thing that I want this team working on. Yeah, so we have a building acceleration fund, and we're just finalising how to invest about $70 million of that. That is a low-interest loan provided by the state to developers to deliver the infrastructure that they need to open up their land. That's going to be really important, and that will be available to this team in identifying where they can open up new growth areas.
On other topics, do you think the Fed should bring in an aged care levy?
Look, I think, and I've been very vocal on this, that the federal government have failed older Queenslanders, repeatedly failed older Queenslanders, and the evidence that has been heard by the Royal Commission, the stories that you have all reported on are nothing short of heartbreaking, and clearly the government needs to step in and do more. That includes better funding, but also more active and better regulation. Funding isn't the only solution, but it clearly needs to be part of it. Availability of places, home care. The fact that people are waiting so long for home care packages that by the time they get them, they already need a higher level of care. They're the kinds of things that the Morrison government needs to address. And what I've found disappointing is that the evidence of this has been clear all along. There was no need for them to wait for the report before they act. They could have and should have been acting throughout.
How are plans for the AstraZeneca doses going? Does the state know yet how many doses it will receive next week? While we receive some information from the Commonwealth about what to anticipate, we can't action the arrival of those vaccines until they are here, until we know that we are getting them. And so Queensland Health is constantly monitoring that and making sure that we get those vaccines out as quickly as possible. What I'd emphasise, and what the Chief Health Officer has said, is that the most important thing here isn't how many people we vaccinate in the first week or the second week or the third week. It's how quickly we get everyone vaccinated, and particularly our vulnerable groups and our frontline workers. That's what will change how we can get back to normal after this pandemic.
Can we set too low a target for the rollout for the first few weeks? I mean, the other states seem to give the percentage of vaccines that they have used to vaccinate, and ours seems to be pretty low.
Look, it's incredibly important that we get this right, and as I say, the number we do in the first or second week isn't what's important. It's how quickly we can get it out and how confident our community is in getting it, and that's been the priority here. I think I have a lot of confidence in Queensland Health and the Chief Health Officer's planning and ability to deliver this, and where we've seen the system fall down have been on the Commonwealth side, where they are rolling out the vaccines in aged care at the moment.
The target for the first week was 1,000. What's the target for this week?
I appreciate this is a topic that I have substantial historic knowledge of, Lydia, but you'd have to address that to the Health Minister. We're happy to get you that information.
Canberra's been asking for more information.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful that the vaccine's been rolled out, and of course, our Chief Medical Officer being named and honoured by the Premier. That is wonderful news that's happened, because it's quite deserving, truly deserving, and we'll keep you up to date on the news as they come and as they progress. And of course, right now the buzz is everyone to get vaccinated. Of course, the due process will follow, where the frontline workers and the essential ones would be vaccinated first, and then the flow through. So, without further much ado, you must, if you get a chance, go and get the vaccination done and follow through with the second vaccination, as per your medical advice. So, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to go into the feature for today, which is real estate.
It's time now for Real Estate Update. With Usha Chandra of Globenet Realty, real estate is our world.
Now we're standing here face to face, afraid to move or else.
Again, welcome to the show, Usha.
Thank you for having me on your show, Australian Indian Radio, and Umesh.
And it is wonderful to have you back on the show. As we know, there's been a lot that's been happening in real estate. It's been in news. We've heard about, the soaring house prices, and one of the greatest since 2003. So the gauge, as we do on the show every week, is first we look at the auctions and the number of properties that go on auction, even though it might not be what is a desired method of sale for some of the suburbs, but that is what the industry is gauged as. So, how many homes were taken to auction last week?
There were 2,451 homes taken to auction across combined cities this week, and up to 2,128 homes over the previous week. Although lower than this time last year, where 3,026 auctions were held of the 2,053 results collected so far. So it was 89.9% reported successful results, down from last week's preliminary auction clearance result, which was 84.4%, which is revised down to 79.6% at the final figures.
So they're quite good. When you look at those figures, they're still quite good, quite reasonable, quite high up there, and that's indicative of the prices. So if you look at the capital cities, what have been the clearance rates and the number of auctions?
The clearance rate, especially in Sydney, 88.9%, where total auctions were 844, and the total results were cleared auctions were 646, and 81s were uncleared. So the clearance total clearance rate was 76.6%, 1,081 sales. That was from last year, compared to 76% last year, and last year was 1,081 sales. Melbourne was 77.7%, 1,270 sales, total auctions were held, and the clearance result was 1,091, and so there was cleared auctions were 848, and Brisbane was 79%, 115 auctions, and the total cleared auctions were 64, and 17 were uncleared auctions. And Adelaide was 82.5%, total auctions were 94, and the cleared sales were 52, and 11 were not sold. Perth was 33.3%, total auctions were 12, and the cleared auction results was only 2 there. And Tasmania was not applicable, so there was only 1 auction, and it was not cleared sale either. So Canberra was 84.7%, 112 auctions, and the cleared auction results were 72. So the total combined average was 81.9%, 2,451 auctions were held, and the total cleared auctions were 1,684, and so the total number of uncleared auctions were 369, and compared to clearance last year was 73.9%, so which was 3,026 sales last year.
So overall, when you look at the clearance rate, which is 81.9% as opposed to 73.9 in last year, well, that is quite good. So it's up about almost 10%, about 10% rise in the clearance rate, which is quite good. So that's indicative of the strong confidence in the industry there as well. So as we know that the temporary supplement to job seeker payment in Australia are set to finish end of March. The JobKeeper and the Job Seeker coronavirus supplement, they were the temporary boost to the existing recipients of welfare schemes in response to the onset of COVID-19, which included a Job Seeker, Youth Allowance, OC Study and Parenting Payment. So will the removal of Job Seeker supplement have any impact on the housing market?
First and foremost, it's important to acknowledge that Job seeker supplement has already been reduced significantly in recent months, with no damping impact apparent on the housing market as whole. So it shouldn't be affecting the housing market much at all. Late in 2020, March 2020, the original job seeker supplement was set to an additional of $275 per week. In late September, the supplement was reduced by $225 per week, and it was further reduced to $75 per week through the first quarter of 2021. However, housing market momentum has increased from September to January amidst the reduction in the supplement between the end of September and January. CoreLogic National Home Value Index rose 3.2% and in housing sales, and rental values increased by 2.5%. So that shows that that hasn't affected at all.
Okay, so if that is not affecting, in real estate, people are always looking at the house prices, where they sit, and the values. So you know, if a market is this strong, what's happening with the house prices?
The house prices are continually increasing. Housing values, if you can see throughout Australia, has a rising in capital cities and the rest of regional areas as well, demonstrating high diverse nature of this housing upswing. According to CoreLogic research director, the growth phase hasn't been seen in Australia this much in increase. The last time we saw the substantial period where every capital city and the rest of state region was rising in value was in mid 2009 through to early 2010 as post GFC.
Okay, so it is good to see that it is increasing, and of course due to the many factors which we discussed in our last segment as well. So if you look at the index and the result, the change in dwelling values, so could you give us the indication of the main capital cities which we look at, and look at the change in dwelling values for the last month?
Yeah, the capital city changes has been there a little bit only. So the month change was 2.5% and the quarter change was 3.6%, and the annual change in Sydney was 2.8%. So total returns is 5.3%, and medium house values in Sydney was 896,000, whereas Melbourne was 2.1% for the month, and the quarter was 3.5%, and it was minus 1.3% annually, and total return was 1.8%, and the average median price was 717,000. Brisbane was 1.5% for the month, and for the quarter was 3.5%, and annual increase was 5%, and the total returns was 9.3%, so which was quite high, and the median values was 535,000, almost 536,000, compared to the last one, which was about 525,000 for Brisbane market. Adelaide is 0.8% for the month, and the quarter was 2.7%, annual was 7.3%, which was quite high, and total return was 11.8%, and average median price was 478,000. Perth was 1.5% for the month, and the quarter was 4.2%, annual was 4.6%, and the total returns was 9.3%, and 492,000 was the average price over there. Hobart was 2.5%, and the quarter was 4.8%, and annual return was 8.7%, and it was increased. Total return was 14%, and median price is very similar to Brisbane market, $536,000. Darwin was 0.7% was the month, quarter was 5.5%, and annual returns was 13.8%, total returns was 19.4%, and average price is 438,000. Canberra was 1.2%, 9%, and the quarter was 3.7%, so the annual was 9.7%, total returns was 14.6%, average price is 706,000. Combined capital cities was 2% for the month, and the quarter was 3.6%, annual was 2.6%, and the total returns was 5.9%, and the average price throughout Australia is 675,000. Combined regional areas was 2.1%, and 5.4% was the quarter, and annual was 9.4%, and total returns was 14.4%, and the average price for regional areas was 438,000. So looking at the national, it's 2.1% for the month, and the quarter was 4%, and annual was 4% as well, and the total returns was 7.6%, and the national average price was, median price was, say, 600,000.
And that is quite a good graph that's there, and I'm one who always looks at the bottom line. So the bottom line there is the two lines, the combined regional. If you look at the regional total return, there is 14.4 as compared to the capitals, which is 5.9.
Yeah.
So nationally it becomes 7.6, but the regionals and quite amazing growth there, and quite amazing returns there.
Yeah.
I think it's all been driven. If you look at Darwin, 19.4% return with 13.8% in change in dwelling values, as opposed to that's plus 13.8 as opposed to minus 1.3 in Melbourne. And that's what I've been saying, that if people had bought in Darwin before this boom, not now, but what people will do, Darwin's good prices there, the return is very good, but if they go there now, they're paying high prices.
Exactly, yeah.
If they go and buy in Melbourne now, which is going down,
yeah,
then you'll pay a lesser price rather than the premium. But it is quite interesting to see this graph. It's quite interesting to follow those on a weekly basis, and it is interesting because in a whole snapshot you can see right across the regions what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Well, the other part of the equation which we always talk about is the rental and the rental yields. So what's happening in that field?
Actually, Brisbane is pretty good. It's been very stable in up until March 2020. However, the call from foreign residents and tourists to return home in the midst of the rise of the desperate renters facing job losses has sparked the last minute surge in rental vacancies with drop in asking rentals, but this has mainly been affected in the inner city apartment market. Brisbane housing rentals has held its value really steady growth in the rental markets. The housing values are still good in rentals, but the inner city apartments has gone down.
Yes, so what they're saying, that because of the foreign residents and tourists have been asked to go back to their houses, and the students are not coming. So I think that is probably one of the reasons why there is a last minute surge in rental vacancies.
Correct, yeah.
And that's as they reckon mainly in a city. Wow. Okay, so what's happening with the Brisbane, and how is the vacancy rates compared there?
Brisbane vacancy rates have been tight, hovering well over below 2.5% vacancies, which traditionally represents the balanced rental market. But as you can see from the vacancies list in Brisbane, rose over the last few years in response to significant oversupply of apartments. But vacancy rates have since fallen as this oversupply was slowly soaked up. However, with the recent lockdown, social distancing, travel restrictions, and shutdown of immigration, and return of many properties that were previously let as an Airbnb to rental market will lead higher vacancy rates, and rental falls as much as 10% in some locations. So it shows that the rental market is still pretty good, but the Airbnb and apartments are fairly down. down. So there's a lot of oversupply in those areas because of tourists not coming and students not coming to Brisbane.
Okay, but right now let's go and look at your agency. So what's happening with your agency and properties that you've got on market or anything that you'd like to talk about?
Actually, we have got very limited properties on the market at the moment because of the high demand of buyers coming into the market area. Sales, we have got only a couple of properties on the market for sale. I've just listed one very nice property just yesterday with magnificent city views. It's an older style home, elevated location close to Nudgee College, offers over 689, and that has got beautiful city views and Mount Cootha views as well. So ideal location for families whose children are going to Nudgee College. It's close to the airport, close to Brisbane CBD as well. So it's an ideal location and a great investment property.
Okay, so that's wonderful that you've got this listing that's come on. And of course, at this point in time in real estate, real estate agents are all buying for the small niche market that they have in their areas. As we know that the sales have been strong and the buyer demand has been strong, but I think there's not enough listings on the market to match that. So what have you been doing?
Yeah, we have been doing marketing and cold calling as well, and brochure distribution. So we are trying all avenues to get more listings, and especially we are offering free marketing, which is up to $2,500, which will give you your property will be on realestate.com, domain.com, and our website. We have, as I mentioned, that we have got we have our location is very good, main busy Sandgate Road, so great exposure for your properties as well. List and sell with Globenet Realty.
Globenet had a competition which we had list and sell with Globenet Realty for the last 3 months, and all settlement was supposed to be done by January 31st. And now we have got all the settlements, all the listing and sold properties, and we are drawing the prize today. The winner will get $5,000 from Globenet Realty, and thank you, Kim, for doing the honors. Kim is from our local beautician and hair artist, so she'll be doing the draw today. We didn't want one of our staff to do it, so Kim is doing it. And Kim, please pick up our winner.
Okay, the winner is 4 Heathwood Street, Tagum.
Wow!
Congratulations!
Congratulations, Jeff. Jeff is the winner. Jeff is a retired gentleman in a nursing home at the moment, and he has bought and sold a few properties through us. He has known me for some time as well, and we have listed and sold his property within a couple of weeks of listing, and achieved a very high price for his property. So he was a very happy client. So much for listing your property with us, and that's the $5,000 check for you. And you enjoy, do whatever you want to do with that $5,000. And thank you once again for listing your property and trusting Globenet Realty to sell your property.
Thank you very
And
much.
you want to say something?
Yes, thank you very much for the way you handle the sale.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. If anybody wants to list and sell through Globenet Realty, please contact us. We have got a free marketing at the moment, so we are not charging any advertising. We do it on realestate.com, domain, our website, and we have got a big screen in our window as well. So a lot of promotion will happen with the properties, and we have got a signboard, photography, all inclusive. Approximately 2,500 worth of free marketing.
Wow.
So please come and see us if you want to list, sell, or manage the properties. We are happy to assist. Thank you.
Globenet Realty. Globenet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Usha Chandra, Director of Globenet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetrealty.com.au. Globenet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. Globenet Realty. Real estate is our world.
Globenet Realty and Real Estate is the world, and it is wonderful to see that weekly update. There's quite a lot to take on, as we know that the property market at this point in time, as I reported yesterday as well, prices are soaring, but how long would that be sustained? It will be good to follow that up, and we will keep providing you the weekly update. And don't forget that tomorrow we will bring to you the travel updates with Tanvi, and on Friday, Mandua is coming in with her migration safar. So, that's lots to look at. But right now, let's go and take a look at what's happening in Brisbane, events-wise, and see if there's functions and events that we'd like to take part in. So looking at all those events, you can see that the numbers are growing. What it means is that functions and events have started again. I slowly getting back, and there will be lots that will be happening, and we'll bring to you all the updates. And of course, as and when we get opportunity, people will be coming in to talk about the event. The next one we'll be talking about is the Garland of Languages, which will be presented at BMEC, and we'll bring to you that live interview as well. Well, right now, it's been wonderful having your company. It's always so good to see you, and keep up to date. And please, I'd like to thank all the groups which allow us to share our feed, because it is of community interest, and it is of general knowledge and information. There's so many things that are happening within the community which could be useful to many of our viewers. So if you have people, if you are the admin of a group, why don't you share this with your members of the group? I mean, of course, if anyone doesn't like it, they won't watch it. So if it is of interest to anyone within the group, then they will watch it. But I'd also like to thank everyone who support our live stream by sharing and forwarding it on to the members, and also commenting. And once again, you can never go but always mention Devika Maharaj. Once again, unsaving, and the support that we get from you is always great. Thank you so much for doing what you do out there. Keep up that wonderful work. So until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. Enjoy the rest of the day. If you are out and about, take care. If you're driving, be very careful under the wet conditions here in Brisbane is what I'm talking about. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. See you then. Most importantly, remain safe.